before we get into some sports, we was just talking about this before we went on air to celebrate or not celebrate Valentine's Day. Um, yeah, I was me and my wife, we don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Never have. For her, like she never like been a big proponent of it. Just personally. But when she was asking me like, oh, like why haven't you like ever really like cared? Because like when we first started talking, obviously I was just like, yo, like you big on Valentine's Day or whatever, and she was like, nah, I ain't really pressed about it. And I was like, bet. It sounds like a good agreement. Um, but when she asked me, I was just like, well, it's kind of like against my religion or whatever. And she was just like, what you mean? She was like, I never like, like came across like scripture in the Bible or whatever, or like celebrating like Valentine's Day or whatever. I was like, I ain't talking about the Bible. She's like, what you talking about? I was like, I'm talking about pimping. She was like,
Nah.
she was like, I should have known. I should have known. I should have known. Oh,
I say Romans chapter.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, no, I don't think pimps celebrate Valentine's Day, so I follow suit. You feel me? But outside of that, though, I really take pride in being able to show my wife like love like around the year. And the last thing I would ever want is for like our relationship to be in shambles, and like I'm supposed to like magically like act like everything's a-okay on Valentine's Day. And then it goes back to like being a dump. Our relationship goes back to being a dumpster fire. So yeah. So for me, that's why I choose to like not really get caught up in like Valentine's Day. Like if I'm doing right throughout the year and we locked in the way we supposed to be locked in and communicating and showing love to one another on a daily basis, like Valentine's Day shouldn't move us to feel like we need to like do anything like extra. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just like wait a day after for us to like go get all the chocolate half off and like we treat ourselves to some dessert half off. Yeah, I mean, but that's how me and my wife always moved on Valentine's Day. But what about y'all?
Every woman I've ever been with in my life has been a big proponent of celebrating Valentine's Day. And I'm not saying that from a disgruntled place to all the women that, oh, you hate women, just say that. No, it's not what I'm saying. But um, definitely had a really good Valentine's Day this year. And I say really good because usually, this is a holiday for women, but it's a beautiful thing, I believe, when the man also gets thought about in that same light. So, I definitely had a special somebody near and dear to my heart think about me in ways that I've never been thought about before. So it was just really cool to be appreciated, um, as we celebrated each other. So
I'm more of a case by case type guy. I feel like if you have the time, the energy, the if you feel like you're
very
kind of
light,
missing,
nigga, because you started off rocky.
huh?
Hey, I'm not gonna
Wait, what?
lie. Case by case basis. Wow.
Case by yeah, I'm about to say
Well,
tread
no, I mean
lightly,
that.
nigga, because you
Well, what I
started
mean
out
by that
with
is case by case, in the sense of depending on how your relationship is going throughout that year or where status is at. I feel like, or just even how your life is going. Because to a certain point, I talked to one of my regulars at my job, and I said Happy Valentine's Day. He said Happy Hallmark Card Day. And I was just like, oh, you kind of forget that perspective of it's a money grab, and if your money's not there to be able to do it, it can often work against you. You're trying to go out your way to press your girl, or in some cases the woman's trying to press the guy, and it's like, hey man, it ain't even that deep. Edward said, like you love your girl year round. It makes it to where you shouldn't have to, it shouldn't be a big deal. I shouldn't have to go out my way to spend money on this in particular day, even if things aren't quite the way I need them to be. So I look at it, that's what I mean by case. And also the fact of it's really like a temperature check. You kind of know your significant other, you'll know like, okay, this year I think I should kind of go out my way on this in particular day to make her happy. Or if you know, like, hey man, we really locked in, we're not really worried about that. That's like at the bottom of our totem pole about celebrating a made up holiday. Then don't worry about it. So that's what I kind of mean by that. Like, I don't think it's meant for everyone to go over the top and to try to be in competition to a certain extent, or just trying to keep up with the Joneses, if you would say. So that's how I feel about it. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in that, especially with social media, to where they often, force themselves in that position to where they, just it's just not worth it. The person may be worth it, but the circumstances aren't quite, perfect for it. Just like Edward said, sometimes you gotta do it the day after Valentine's Day, whether it's financial or time or whatever it may be. It's like it shouldn't have to be that in particular day to where it's, that means everything. So that's how I look at it. Like it's the in particular day shouldn't be highlighted as much as the celebration of each other should be more important. Even if it's the day before, day after, the week of, the weekend, whatever. So just think people get a little anal on the pause. People get a little bit overly direct on celebrating it on the day. So
Yeah, if you really
Yeah,
play
and I think
every day, I was just gonna say if you really play every day is Valentine's Day with your lady. That's my take on
that's true. And I feel like in every relationship, like I feel like communication is key. Because I was definitely in a situation to where it was just like got some things ahead of me, some obligations, that require monetary efforts. So probably didn't go as grand and as big as I would have liked to have gone, but it's literally all about communicating with your partner, setting expectations, and when you have somebody that's sensible and somebody who isn't driven by the fake standard that society sets, I think you're in for a really good time, no matter who you're with or how much money you spend or whatever y'all do. Just having that type of understanding in a relationship, it sets the a groundwork for good things to just kind of grow from there. So definitely went it on a more smaller scale, but it was probably one of the more thoughtful Valentine's Day that I've personally been a part of. So um,
yeah,
yeah, man, it was special. More to come.
yeah, nah, Sean Hard.
I'll say this to say real quick. I'm not
Uh,
gonna put too much detail on it or make it too direct, but I witnessed somebody that I know get glamorized with one of the most biggest celebrations and everybody jealous. And within a year, things crashed and burned as far as their future went. So let that, and I took that as like you know, people when people go over the top on Valentine's Day, it can be a bit of smoke and mirrors of what's actually going on
Man, I
behind the
really fucked
scenes.
up last month. I need to get back right, and because when you bringing them flowers on a random Monday morning, or you surprise her at her job with lunch and some roses, like all of a sudden the pressure of Valentine's Day significantly goes down. Like, oh babe, did you want to do something this weekend? I mean, we didn't have to. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Instead of you gonna ask me to be your Valentine's Day, this is like, oh
it's
well,
like, yeah, let's
relax, hold on. So yeah, man.
nah, like you
Communication rules the nation.
hey man, like you said on there, there's some statistic I've been seeing out there that like the higher people on a larger scale of not just Valentine's Day, but like people going all out, then they not together the next month, next week. There's a statistic out there that's like the higher dollar amount that people pay for their wedding, the more likely they are to get a divorce. And like you look at people who they just go elope or like, oh, you just think about like your grandparents from back in the day. Like my mom and daddy, they 30 plus years strong. Like they got married in the kitchen. Like, yeah, I mean, so so yeah, nah. But Sean Howard, I don't know if the missus listens to the pod, but I just want to tell her that if you hear listen to this, I've heard nothing but great things about you, and I look forward to meeting you. And I see a different brightness in my brother's demeanor when he talks about you.